Tonight, we find out who is this week's biggest loser.
Oh, me!
Walt, we have to weigh you first.
Oh, why?
To work out if you lost the most weight this week.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Why did you want to be the biggest loser if we weren't talking about losing weight?
Something to put on the wall? Could use a nice plaque.
We don't give out plaques. Walt, this is live television. There are 12 more episodes, and the winner gets $100,000.
Right, so what you're saying is, I could get $100,000 worth of plaques? I'll never eat again. I won't need to. I could eat plaques, wood and metal and screws.
Oh yeah, and those little plastic men in action poses.
James, come on, don't be ridiculous. This is live television.
Oi. I sounded like a wheezy squeaky toy with that line.
I kind of did the same one.
Little dolphins.
Don't know what to make of that one.
Oh,
well,
really?
Welcome to the Get Commanded podcast by the Greensboro Commander community. It's the GCP by the GCC, helping you to have better games of Commander. I'm your host, Walt.
And hello, Commander players. I'm your other host this week, James.
James Alvarez.
I'm really...
host of the biggest loser in UK.
We don't have the camera on this podcast,
No,
but I want to illustrate that we're both putting our fingers, all like the tips of our fingers all together in the Mr. Burns style television presenter pose.
I honestly think it's like one of the biggest hacks of like voice acting is actually to like do with your body what you would do if you were just
100%.
regular acting.
Yeah.
Because it like doing these weird poses makes you feel a particular way, and then it makes your voice sound
There's
a
a
particular
really
way.
cool video of Hugh Jackman doing the dubbing for Wolverine, the Logan film.
Right.
And he's like literally jumping up and down and running in the booth.
Oh,
really
wow.
cool to watch.
Yeah, that's
really cool.
That's really cool. Well, before we get too carried away, James, I think I can see an incoming transmission here.
Mm-hmm.
From the deep depths of the galaxy, from the Space Commanders. It's time to get commanded.
Commander players will lose approximately 75% of the games that they complete. It follows that all players should learn to face defeat with grace, sportsmanship, and joy.
How to lose.
Wow. Talked so much about how to win. Like, we promote it a lot.
Literally at the start of this podcast, you say, be a better Commander player, make better Commander games and all that kind of stuff. But like, yeah, you're right. Technically, like every game that you go into, you have a 1 in 4 chance of winning. So you've got
assuming that the power levels are pretty even.
Yeah, assuming
experience and that kind of thing. Yeah.
But yeah, when you think about like, okay, yeah, I got a 1 in 4 chance of winning. That means I got a 3 in 4 chance of losing.
Yeah. It's weird almost weird that we don't talk about it more, funnily enough. Like, it's something that we're doing on average more often than we're winning.
I think this is really interesting when you think about Commander in comparison to like 1v1 formats.
Yeah.
Because like, I'm playing a lot of Standard at the moment on Arena.
You're telling me about the blue-red sort of spells deck you've been playing at the moment.
The Grixis mid-range one is my current favourite. That's some proper...
It's like the top of Standard at the moment, I think, anyway.
I've changed it a bit. But like, yeah, if you want to play some Standard with Arena on me, jump on our Discord and I'm happy to play some games.
Ooh.
But when you play one-on-one, you've got a 50-50 chance of winning, right?
Yeah, again, assuming like similar play levels and stuff. Yeah. But it's so much lower in Commander. I guess we should mention as well that actually we want that percentage to be that low, right? Like, we talked a lot about Rule Zero and how we love that if it's done properly, it levels the playing field pretty well. And so we actually want to go into games with a 25% chance of winning, really.
That's the whole point of what our Rule Zero conversation guide is to make everyone have an equal chance of winning, right? That's, I think, the whole point. And, like, it's so weird to me to think about the fact that we love Commander so much, but you're pretty spiky. I've played a lot of CEDH. we both really want to win, but Commander we keep going back to, even though we lose most of the games we play.
Yeah, I guess like it's important. I think the reason so much of us play Commander is that the socializing is like crucial, right? Like
it properly is the gathering in Magic.
Yeah, I think I think that's why it's become so popular. Is it embodies a part of Magic that everyone was doing anyway. Like there was always casual Magic. We knew from stats in the past that kitchen table Magic has always been the most popular way to play. Yep. But Commander really said, yes, this is the way that Commander specifically is played. That's how you should do it. But I think it's interesting that then we do lose a lot, but we lose within the context of playing with other people. So we should kind of, if we can, try and learn to enjoy losing, weirdly.
It's interesting. You've said joy.
Oh, that was one of the words they used, yeah.
The Space Commanders said grace, sportsmanship, and joy.
They did.
So I reckon we just break it down like that.
Yeah,
we just go how to lose gracefully, how to be a good sport, and how to have fun losing.
Yeah.
Have fun losing? Sure.
I mean, we'll leave that to the last one. Yeah. I think they did that intentionally. Yeah. Let's see if we can arrive at joy by the end. Yeah, sounds good. All right, so grace was the first one. So what's like the first thing I think of when I think of losing gracefully is that moment immediately after you lose, which is saying good game. It sort of goes without saying, but...
GG's.
Yeah, GG's. So there's other phrases people use like well played. You know, I sometimes say thanks for the game when people are sort of getting up to walk off and that kind of thing. Handshakes are a thing you can do.
Again, we're allowed to do that now.
We are. Yeah. If people are COVID safe and kind of go for the fist bump instead, obviously do the fist bump. That's fine. I
still occasionally get offered the elbow tap.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, it's cool to see 2020 still lives.
It's still alive with some of us, yeah. I think it's kind of the bare minimum, right? To say or do something just to say, 100%. Good game, thank you, well played, that kind of thing.
You used to play Rocket League a lot. I know that used to be like your game.
Yeah.
Recently put the controller on the shelf.
Hung up the controller.
Hung up the gloves on the wall.
Yeah.
Got a good imagery. But like, I know that Rocket League has like quick chat functions.
Yeah.
And on my Rocket League account, it's up is good game.
Yeah, that's the standard one.
That's the standard one.
So when you're in the post-game screen, you hit that and it does good game. And a lot of games have that, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's like, it's really rare that you get games where you don't get that GG at the end of the game.
Yeah, I mean, even Arena has the good game. Admittedly, people use I'm sure you've encountered a toxic player in Arena where you are like down a few cards or it's not looking good and they just like spam good game. They're
trying to make you concede so they can get to the next game.
Yeah, but it's pretty toxic.
I think Arena might be a special place of toxicity for good games. But I think that, like we know that in the gaming verse, online video games, everything, it's pretty ubiquitous. Like there are t-shirts with GGs on it.
Yeah,
I think it's good manners.
It is. And it comes from sport, right? Like for me, that's why it's so... I've never had any problem with this. And I think it's because I played a lot of competitive sport growing up. Like a lot of football, a lot of soccer. Football. And it was just like expected. They get you all to line up at the middle of the pitch after the game.
Shake hands.
You'd shake hands with the umpire often or the coach. And then, you'd shake hands with every other player on the other team. Yeah. And it was expected that you would say, good game. And some people would do when I was like 11, would do the limp noodle. They'd kind of like slap your hand or whatever. And they wouldn't even say anything. Good. Sometimes they'd just say,
But I think it is just good practice. I mean, and the second you say good game or have good game said to you, it like sets aside this, like sometimes if you blow someone out of the water and, someone says good game to you, it immediately reduces that, I'm really scared I upset them, like because I killed them so quickly or whatever.
What was the stakes?
And again, we're playing Commander because we enjoy it. Like we're playing for fun.
Totally.
So saying to your opponent, I had fun is another really good way of doing it. Just saying, it was good for me. I enjoyed it. I loved when I did this thing and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well, if that's the bare minimum of like being graceful when you lose, I reckon the next sort of level beyond that is complimenting the opponent on their win. Yeah. Or even their deck. Like, I loved that card. Like, I loved that interaction you found between Staff of Domination and this card. Like, just like enhancing that good game, that's like 2 words to 10, 15 words kind of thing.
Yeah, a sentence or 2 really goes a long way. I think good game is like the bare minimum, but if you say good game, that Goblin Tribal Spellslinger deck that you've just built, Walt the Raid Mother, man, that pops off harder than I thought it would. Like, just then, I've given you a complete like overview of what your deck is, and you feel good about playing it.
Yeah.
And you go, wow, okay, you used... And this is where we kind of tie into Rule Infinity a little bit. Like, I've already got an idea of that Rule Infinity conversation, which is the post-game conversation. It popped off a lot better than I thought it was. I'm giving feedback already in my compliments.
Yeah, exactly. I think we'll probably go into more detail on that when we talk about sportsmanship as well, definitely. But, like, I think the important thing here with saying good game and with complimenting the opponent's deck is that, like, winning is what we're all gunning for. And so you should kind of try to create an atmosphere where winning does feel good. Like, you should feel good when you win, right? You should be rewarding someone and saying, wow, well done. You got there. Like, that should be how we feel at the end of every game, I think.
I think that's really crucial. And like what I said before about, like, the second you say good game, the person that won often might, like I said, fear that they have made a bad game for people because they played so well, or the deck performed in such a way that it locked other people out, whatever it might be. If you say good game, I really enjoyed that your deck did this, or I thought that this was a really interesting way to use that card, you're immediately, like you said, lowering those stakes. And I think the bigger thing from that is we are just generally as people, we're quite empathetic. We generally will feel what others are feeling, and we'll get that vibe in the room. If someone in a Commander game is being really quiet, not talking a lot, generally the rest of the pod will feel that energy, and it'll tend to not drag the game down. I'm not saying if you're having a bad time, you're going to make everyone else have a bad time, but we as people feel that.
We do.
And I think post-game, especially when you have lost, you might be emitting that energy. But the second someone says to you, oh, that was a really good game, I really enjoyed that, your deck, I was so close to losing when you did this, like if I didn't have this card in my hand, you probably would have won. That like immediate like relief of like, oh, I wasn't as bad as I thought I was. Or like, I didn't play terribly.
It was all in good fun, I think. And look, I think it's worth acknowledging that not everyone's going to be there straight away, right? Like when they finish the game, you might not be able to immediately drop it and go, smiling, laughing, I love this card kind of thing. You might still be caught up in those emotions a bit, but if you can, I reckon, like, just take a deep breath.
It sounds so dumb and so cheesy, but like...
I mean, I don't know if your parents would say to you when you were a kid, like, you'd be all worked up about something, and Dad would say, like, all right, 3 big breaths.
I get told by my therapist.
Yeah.
Like,
but you don't realize till you do it that you're kind of like, oh, right. I was like, you take that big, deep breath and you go, oh, I've been carrying this emotion for the last 10, 20, 50 minutes. And now that I let it go, I can see, actually, the game's over,
Something that I found, like, with Commander when I play is I physically tense my muscles.
Totally.
Like, I will, like... And especially when I start flicking cards, it's a way for my muscles to contract. It's like, I'm doing it because it's giving my emotions a place to go to in my muscles, right? And, like, after a game, what I'll try and do is I'll try and stand up and literally, from my head to my toes, relax each muscle in my body.
Yeah.
And it really helps. I mean, I'm like, especially just recently competed in the Dockside Debacle CDH tournament.
Yeah.
And
in Melbourne.
In fairness, that is actually a competitive environment. There was an entry fee, there were prizes.
Yeah.
It was,
slightly different than usual casual Commander. Yeah.
Different vibes, but we were all there to have good fun.
Yeah.
But I really was nervous and tense. So when I made mistakes, I'd get angry at myself and stuff like, but between my matches, between my rounds, I found it like I took myself to the bathroom and just took a second, decompressed.
Yeah.
And even like the players were still in the store, I'd go back to them and say that was a great game, really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Just take a second.
It doesn't take long.
No.
It doesn't take long at all to do it. Totally agree. And I think the other thing I would sort of add, and it's sort of in a similar line to this, is this is kind of like way beyond just Commander, try to be kind to yourself.
That's some serious life advice.
It's just good advice in general, but like seriously, losing one game does not make you a bad deck builder or a bad player. Remember that we play a singleton format, so your deck can perform wildly different between individual games. And it's just like, if you are sort of caught up in this self-narrative of, oh, I suck, and like, oh, my deck doesn't work, and man, I hate losing, like, that actually, you not only is that a bad narrative for you, you are sort of setting that example to the players around you.
Yeah.
And that overall creates an atmosphere of negativity. Whereas... That's
huge.
Taking that breath, and especially being kind to yourself and going like, man, deck didn't work today, but but it's just today, you know? Like, that's just one day in the world of this deck, in the world of me as a Commander player. Like, be kind, have a narrative of, I am good at what I do. Yeah. I am okay. It's not the end of the world if I lose. Try to perpetuate that narrative because it'll make you a much better player when you interact with others as well.
I think as an example to Commander players, you should do that. Like, any experienced Commander players out there, try and be really kind to yourself and show that, like, you recognize the mistakes you made in the game and go, oh, I'll never make that mistake again. Or, like, even if you, like, make it in jest, it helps you do that.
Yeah.
But for new players, instead of going, I screwed up here, I didn't do this, or forgot this, forgot that, forgot this, take that as a lesson. You know, instead of beating yourself about it, be like, okay, next time I'll do this. And also, while you're doing that, okay, I tapped my mana wrong this time. I tapped all my blue sources when I had a handful of blue and only had red mana left. Like, yes, take it as a lesson, take it to the next game. But at the same time, congratulate yourself on the stuff that you did do well. I mean, I was in a game like not too long ago where like it was a brand new player playing a deck that they'd only freshly just built and forgot to cast their commander, basically.
Right.
Forgot they had access to that commander. And they were beating themselves up about it this entire time. And I was saying, oh yeah, but like, you used this sequence. That there was like a sequence in the game, I can't remember. It was specifically where they like flickered something to untap it as a block.
Oh, cool.
Something like that. And I was like, that's a pretty high level.
Yeah,
like,
it's great thinking.
You're seeing an opportunity in a point where you have priority, which is already combat's a complicated step as it is.
Absolutely.
So understanding when the best point for you to use this little combat trick is, that's some high level magic. That's that's really good skill. And I pointed that out to them. And again, if you're an experienced Commander player, if you won and your opponent is beating themselves up and you can see it, I think it's our responsibility as experienced Commander players to jump in and give them, as you put it, their own self-narrative of like, no, I actually did do well in this game.
Yeah.
Because then that self-narrative of how they lost and that talking to yourself, this, oh, I screwed up here, screwed up there, it changes. If you're having examples set by experienced Commander players, often Commander players you look up to. I love it when I get compliments from players that I've been playing with for years and I know that they've been playing for many years before me.
Yeah.
And they say, hey, you did this really well. I go, oh, yeah, no, I did. Sweet.
Yeah.
I counted the wrong spell, sure, and you won because of it. But no, I did do that well. That was good. Yeah.
I think some of us will ride the high of that compliment for the rest of the night, if not the rest of the week. Sometimes people have said things to me, you know, like just taking a moment to say something kind to me.
Yeah.
And you kind of go like, wow, I'm all right.
I'm pretty decent.
I'm pretty cool, actually. And you kind of ride that, you know.
I do.
Yeah. So it makes a huge, huge difference. And I think in that vein of like positive interactions that you have in a game, a graceful thing you can do if you have a blast with someone, like you sit down with someone you don't know or you don't know very well and you have just like an amazing time. The banter's good, the commander's good, the game is good. Take a moment after the game to, if you feel comfortable, like add them on social media. Or like in the case of us, we have a very active and very large community on Discord and on Facebook, and we will at the end of the games absolutely invite people to those servers on Discord or invite people to the Facebook group, the Facebook chats.
So yeah, heads up, if you've never played with Walt and I before and we do play with you in the near future, we're gonna do that.
Yeah,
we're gonna bring you on in.
Totally. We want to get as many like really positive players around the things that we do. And in that vein, by the way, the Discord server is a public one that we use. It's in the show notes of this podcast. So if you just want to chat Commander with some like-minded people, there's room for spell table games, there's room for all sorts of different stuff. Jump in the Discord. It's in the show notes.
Hell yeah. And we do have, for people in Melbourne, a closed Facebook group. So if you wanted to be a part of, I think, the biggest Commander community growing at the moment, it
in Melbourne,
it for sure is. We're doing some really cool stuff. So please, by all means, jump in the Discord, talk to myself or Walt, talk to anyone, and we'll get you invited. Even if you're from like other countries, we'd love to talk to you about Commander, what it's like in different playgroups. We just got off the back of a playgroups episode not long ago, didn't we?
We did. We spoke a lot about the people we play with, and they're all in that server.
They're all in that server, so join us. We want to lose to you gracefully.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Well, speaking of the Discord, James, I reckon it's been about 20 minutes already. Do you reckon it's time for a thrifty interlude?
I would love a thrifty interlude. I love the way you say it. Thrifty interlude.
For those who don't know, every Thursday on our Discord server, I release a weird blog post feature of a cheap magic card.
They've gotten progressively more creative. It used to genuinely be like you should play this card for these reasons, blah, blah, blah.
And I'd sort of sell it to you like a car salesman. You talked before about your car salesman voice, yeah. But then some of the more recent ones is true. I started doing dialogues, and then I started doing monologues, where like imagine I'm the character in the card. And then now, like the other day I did a letter, where I imagined that I won't say who it was, actually, because it's kind of a spoiler. But I imagined I was a Magic the Gathering character asking someone on a peer-to-peer network if they had files for meteorological data.
Yeah, it's a weird
makes sense
post.
when you see the card.
Yeah, you should definitely go and jump in our Discord and have a look. Or like, there's a lot of the old ones are posted there. So
yeah, there's a few of them
dive
there.
Through.
But yes, I also every episode I will bring one of these to life. And I also do something on TikTok, and we'll share the TikTok a bit later.
It's a good palate cleanser, isn't it?
I like it a lot. So, do you want to read us the card that I'll be performing this week, James?
Sure, I'd love to read this card, but I do want to give a bit of a heads up that you know I have a bit of a quandary with this card because it straight up should be a vehicle.
It should,
but
I'm not going to disagree.
Equipment.
It is equipment.
Right,
yep.
You can tell me what you think in our Discord, but today's thrifty interlude card is Chariot of Victory. For 3 generic mana, you'll get an artifact equipment with an equip cost of 1. The equipped creature has First Strike, Trample, and Haste.
Looking for something worth fighting for? Too bad! I'm not telling you that. It's a secret! But this rolling stab machine will make your fighting stylish and leisurely. Alright, maybe not leisurely, but think of the looks of adoration on the faces of the townsfolk right before you cut their faces off! For moral reasons, I can't ask you to get in the Coolmobile, trademark, with me, but I can ask you to get out of my way! It's the most fun you've had on wheels since those shoes with wheels in them. Coincidentally, those are banned from the Coolmobile, trademark, because that would simply be too cool! Get budgeted!
Oh god, it should be a vehicle.
It should be a vehicle.
So frustrating.
It's a chariot. You're getting in it.
It just makes sense. You put a creature in the chariot. It should be able to swing with power and toughness or something.
Yeah.
But the fact that like this thing is like nearly Swiftfoot Boots level good.
Yeah,
it's nearly there.
I think if you staple hexproof to it, it's crazy.
It's just
good.
nuts.
But like, it's shocking how good all these keywords are. It's Trample and Haste is already amazing.
Yeah, and First Strike just sells it, right?
Well, First Strike and Trample, like, they work well together.
That kills a Death Touch blocker.
Yeah.
That's what it does.
Yeah. Oh, man, if you can get Death Touch on this as well.
Yeah.
First Strike, Death Touch,
that's a
Trample,
keyword soup. Oh, surely
Haste.
this in keyword soup decks is really good.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah.
It's 3 keywords on one equipment, yeah.
I also will say that Heelys always wanted a pair, never owned one.
Oh, that's what they're called.
They're called Heelys.
Yeah, you can't wear them in the Coolmobile.
I want a
apparently.
pair. I remember specifically in an airport once asking my dad if I could buy them.
Right.
And he was like, no. And I was like, why? And he just kind of turned around and looked. It was Dubai Airport. And if you've ever been to Dubai Airport, very long, flat surfaces.
Right.
And he'd just be like, I would lose you. So I've never owned a pair of Heelys, but there you go.
Noted. Well, if you want to see these posts, as I said, I release them every Thursday on Discord, and you can see me bring some of these to life in video form on TikTok at @G_Commander Community. So check us a follow on there to see them as they come out.
Yeah, some special stuff may be coming there soon too. But huge shout out again, just while we're in this, like, shouting our own platforms out, Discord.
Yep.
It's the best place to go if you want to chat with other people about our episodes or chat to Walt and myself about our decks, which are all in the show notes.
Yep.
Go in there, tell me what I'm doing wrong with my deck building.
Yeah.
You know,
we're
I'd love to hear it.
very active in the Discord.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear from you. Well, should we get back to losing?
Sure. So, again, Space Commanders gave us 3 keywords, I guess.
They did.
Yeah. We've done Grace.
We've done Grace.
Now Sportsmanship.
Sportsmanship. And then the last was...
Joy.
Joy. All right. So we'll get to Joy. But first, Sportsmanship. Okay. How do you lose and be a good sportsman about it? I think there's a couple of things. Going out fighting is one of them. Like, don't just drop everything.
Yeah.
Specifically, like, you know, if you know you are likely dead, I think you should always play in a way that, like, brings down the player who is killing you as much as possible.
Yeah.
And I think
you should.
I think there's two reasons to do it. The first one is kind of I'll say this is the moral reason. This is like the, just be a good person kind of reason, which is that...
Again, grace a little bit.
Yeah, we're still in grace a bit.
Yeah.
It gives the other people in the game, like the other players who are still alive, the best chance of winning. It evens the playing field. And look, people will remember that you did that for them, and they will be likely to reciprocate. Like, if I am dying to, player X's attack, and I block and kill a bunch of their stuff, or like cast a removal spell and kill player X's commander, James is going to remember that if James is the other player. And the next time James is about to die, you're probably going to be like...
Walt, you, in your dying breath, you helped me out. I'm going to path to exile that thing that I'm going to die to anyway, but at least it's not coming at you next turn.
Yeah, exactly. And it's also worth thinking about the fact that, if you block right, sometimes people can save you, right?
100%.
Sometimes someone, goes to attack you and you're kind of like, oh, I won't block. Or something, and then someone else is like, "Oh wait, do block," because they have a response. They might have a way to keep you in the game.
Wait, if you do block, I've got something for you, and maybe I can get a deal out of you, and you owe me you're my bitch for the rest of the game.
Well,
kind of thing.
And in that vein, the second reason, so the not moral reason, I'll call this the spike reason, right?
Of course, you're calling it the
spike reason. This comes to us courtesy of JLK, by the way, Josh Lee Quiet of the Command Zone podcast.
Blessed be thy name.
Yes, the Holy One. This is really interesting. I remember him saying this and it really stuck out with me. I think we might have talked about this before. When you go out fighting, like someone's gonna kill you and you just blow up a bunch of their stuff, you block, you kill a bunch of their creatures, it leaves a message to that player who is killing you that getting rid of you as a player is a bad idea and they should avoid doing it the next time they play with you.
100%. Now, I want you to imagine me in like a fedora with a toothpick hanging out my mouth. Ready?
Okay, yeah.
Imagine, it's not about winning, it's about sending a message.
Thanks, Godfather, for your commander knowledge.
I think they got it right. But seriously though, if you go out with a toothpick and a Tommy gun, people are really scared to end you at a game. Like if you're so close to death, but you've got a pretty good board and the way to kill you is swinging at you. If someone's going to look at all those creatures and going, oh God, okay, I can kill James, but I'm going to lose a bunch of stuff in the process and then I probably die on the crackback.
Yeah.
Maybe James gets another turn.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sat there with my toothpick and Tommy gun going, damn right.
You talked before about, I think you were talking about a counterspell once and you were like, the one thing that can be better than a counterspell is someone knowing you have a counterspell.
Oh, yeah.
Because then you don't even have to use the card.
Usually people knowing you have a counterspell in hand counters 4 spells at least.
Yeah, because they're not going to cast them because they know you counter them. And likewise, I think if someone knows you might have an answer to them trying to kill you, they will probably not kill you, or they'll wait until they're sure. They might try and, make you discard cards. They might try and make you use a spell. They'll do stuff around that, and you haven't had to use a single card in your hand.
And honestly, that, if you lose in this way, this allows you to win more Commander games.
I think so.
Because you become that player that players are scared of.
Mm.
And I think that is a really strong thing.
Totally.
Before we move on to the next section here, just talking about going out fighting, I actually was thinking about this in the lead up to this episode, and I thought of a really good example of a game, a tournament that really means you have to go out fighting. FIFA World Cup.
Ah,
right?
Sure.
Biggest tournament in the world. Do you know how the group stages work?
Not
a big football fan?
No, I haven't seen a lot.
Basically, at the start of the World Cup, all the teams are put into groups of 4. You could almost consider it a commander pod in this metaphor. But essentially, those two teams, or the pod, play against each other once.
Yeah.
Right?
And then they kind of the top half go through, the bottom half get eliminated?
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, in the situation where two teams, or one team's guaranteed to go through, this is usually how it breaks down, is one team's guaranteed to go through, and in the last day of the group stages, it's possible that one of two teams could go through. Now, in the awesome circumstance, and this makes for great football, is when those two teams face off in the last games of the group stage.
Right, this is just whichever one of you wins goes through, whichever one of you loses does not go through,
Now, here's the kicker. If they're not playing against each other on the last day of the group stages, it means they're playing against other teams. So you end up with this conundrum of, okay, well, if Team A wins, then Team B knows that they're not going to go through. Or if Team A loses, Team B knows that they're guaranteed to go through anyway, so they can just throw that game on the day.
Yeah.
So what FIFA have done is make all the last games of the group stages play at the same time. So that way, both teams never know who's going to go through. Right. So they have to play to win that game. Otherwise, they have no chance of going through.
Wow.
Because there's some really weird ways of, like, when it's scored, like, you could... If I was... Okay, so England v Australia, for example, England could see that, Australia's already lost their match.
Yeah.
So
I don't have to bother anymore.
My points already put me in the top half of the group stage.
Yeah.
I'm going through. I'll just throw this game and not spend the energy for the rest of the tournament.
Play all of my, like, reserve players, like, rest all of my best players, that kind of thing. Yeah.
And I think that's the mentality that we should take to Commander games. Because there was a game, like, recently that we played with my partner Theo.
Sure.
They didn't know that I was about to win, but they knew you were about to win.
Yeah.
So they went out swinging at you, but gave me the in to get the win.
Yeah.
And I think we'll talk about kingmaking in a bit, but, like, I think Theo did a good thing there of, like, actually swinging out as they were dying, because they don't have a chance if they don't.
Totally. No, I think you're right. They saw their win, and that was that was what it looked like. Speaking of winning, well, losing, the whole episode's about losing. Conceding is a little bit of a hot topic in Commander. The general rule that you'll hear a lot online, a lot in game stores, is only concede at sorcery speed.
Which is technically not the rule in Magic. You can actually concede a game at instant speed.
Well, not even instant speed, at any time.
At a state-based action, you can leave the game.
Anytime that you would like to, you can do that. Certainly, it's never against the rules. However, I would say avoid... sorcery speed is a good guideline. I think just try to avoid conceding if it's going to significantly affect the outcome of the game.
Yeah.
You doing so. And I'll add there, by the way, that 90% of the time, it will.
100%. It's literally making everyone else's chances go from 25% to winning to 33.333 recurring percent of winning.
Well, and often 50-50.
Yeah, because usually there's one person in the lead.
Well, or sometimes, to be honest, it might make someone 90% chance to win. Like, if I have a massive board, right, and I'm trying to win with aristocrats, right? I'm trying to drain everyone else on the table.
But one of them's a targeted effect.
Yeah, it's a targeted aristocrats, a blood artist sort of effect where when one of my creatures dies, target player loses a life, I gain a life. If I've got 2 players left that I'm trying to beat, and I'm, like, well in the lead, and one of them concedes, let's say they're on 15 life. That's 15 less drains I have to do before I get the win now. Sometimes the second someone concedes, I might have the win on board. Yeah. Immediately after that happens.
Often in those situations where it's like non-combat damage related wins, it really does like put the win on board.
Yeah.
And even in combat damage situations, you go, you got a board full of dinosaurs, James. I'm conceding. I go, okay, well now I don't have to swing anything at you. And look at that. I have 50 points of trample damage on my board and 2 players on 20 life. Swing. Like,
yeah.
It means the game ends a lot quicker.
Totally. I think it's just, if you can, and like, it'll mean that mostly you should avoid conceding, and I think that's probably a good goal to have. If you can, try not to make a habit of doing it.
Well, if you don't concede, you're always going to be the player that goes out swinging, that reaps those incredible benefits we just talked about.
Well, and is remembered as that player, really importantly, too. I'm interested to hear, actually, there's a bit of a policy I've heard of online when people are not conceding at sorcery speed. So this is like the mid-combat damage concede in this case. I've heard of a policy that I'm interested in your opinion on, where, like, let's say I'm swinging with, I've got a Whip of Erebos. Inside joke.
Jump on our Discord to find out why that's funny.
Yeah. Where all my creatures have lifelink, and I've gone to combat damage. I've attacked you. You haven't blocked or whatever. My things are unblockable, and before damage, you concede.
Oh yeah, no.
And so I don't gain the life, right? I've heard of a policy where people will, if someone does that, they'll say, okay, we're actually going to pretend you're still in the game for the purpose of resolving these triggers, so this person gets to gain some life.
Because they attacked you for a reason.
Yeah. What do you think of that, like, as a policy just to consider? So someone could still leave, but you can treat them as if they're there for that reason.
I think if the player's having a really bad time and just wants to get up from the table and leave...
They should always be able to do so, right?
Then they definitely should. And I think that that's a really good policy for the other 3 remaining players to be like, okay, we'll just treat them as if they did exist. That way you get your damage triggers like lifelink or when this creature deals combat damage, something. Something that I have found recently is that I really try and be a good sport with games of Commander anyway. I talked about before that the Dockside Debacle CDH event that I just played in recently.
Yeah.
And that's a CDH event. I'm playing to win. That's it, right?
That's the main goal, yeah.
I found myself, even then, in those situations, being a good sport. So I want to do a quick story time.
Sure.
We were playing the first round, and the first round, I sit down with a player that ends up going on to win the entire tournament.
Right. Who was playing Blue Farm, I think, that player, right?
Yes, Blue Farm. So Crum and Timna.
Yep.
Really, really amazing CDH color pairing. Yeah, really cool. Another player that was playing the Cabaretti...
Rocco.
It's basically Craterhoof on a stick.
Tudors.
Sorry, it's Court of Calling on a stick.
Yeah, more or less.
And then I was playing another Niv-Mizzet control player.
Oh, right.
So mirror match up in the first game. But it was the longest, grindiest game of the tournament. It went for the full 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Everyone finished their first round well before we did. Like, I'm talking within the first 10 minutes.
Right.
Everyone was watching this game. All eyes were on us. I felt like I was in a stadium of people surrounding me. It was very overwhelming.
Sure.
Really great fun, though. Now, we have so many people watching us. The judge, the L2 judge that was there, fantastic job on the day, by the way, was sat at the end of our table watching our game because there was so much going on.
Right.
The turn passes to me, and I am, like, on the precipice of winning. I am Narset windfalling to, like, go for this win, right?
Sure.
A bunch of stuff happens on my turn. The turn goes for quite a while, and I get 2 minutes left on the clock warning.
Right.
I'm like, okay, right, now I need to really, like, think about, can I win from here? Now, in the tournament, there was a rule that if we go over our time, the player whose turn it is on when the timer goes, they have until the rest of their turn to attempt to win the game.
Sure.
If they can't win the game, it's a draw. Everyone gets, like, divisible points.
That seems fair.
Seems like a fair way of keeping the event on track. Otherwise, you could be there all day.
Oh, CDH games can go for hours. We've played games like that. Yeah.
Thank you, Yashan.
You're welcome.
I had a 2-minute warning, and I was like, right, I could strategically make game actions for 2 minutes so I don't get a time violation from our judge.
Right.
And force a draw.
Sure.
But I knew Nathan, who was sat next to me, who did go on and win the whole tournament, which I figured out, we did the math. If I did that, I would have been in top 4.
Oh, because you'd have a draw instead of a loss.
Yep, but I was a good sport, and I thought, you know what, we've been sat here for 90 minutes. Nathan is on the precipice of winning. I'm going to pass turn. Nathan's, like, as I passed turn, the judge went, right, that's time. Nathan, you have until the end of your turn to end this game. And he won.
Right.
And I got a game loss.
Yeah. Well, I love that personally. And those are my favorite, like, sport stories, like competitive game stories. But I totally agree. I think it's good to have that kind of a philosophy when you're coming into even casual games.
Yeah.
You know, really think like, I want a good contest. And the way to have a good contest is by doing stuff like that. Yeah.
I actually got a lot of really lovely compliments. And I ended up just being really British and went, oh, yes, good show. And just, that's all I really wanted. I knew that I was going into that tournament probably the least experienced and the person with the least meta deck.
Sure.
But I really wanted a good contest, as you put it. And I got it.
Oh,
which I was happy about.
I'm so glad you did that.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should talk about, we've sort of mentioned it a couple of times already now, kingmaking. So for those who don't know, kingmaking is basically like sort of catch-all term for when, it's kind of complicated. There will be a sort of a board state where it's 2 players are looking like they're capable of winning.
Or even 3 players.
Sometimes 3 players, but usually, like, let's say I'm in the driver's seat, so it's my turn. It's the kind of thing where, like, depending on the actions that I make in my turn, like the choices that I have, whether it's like going to combat, blocking, whatever it is, somehow my influence on the game is not going to make me win, but it's very likely that whatever I do in that turn will decide who the winner is. So I can't win. For whatever reason, I can't get there. It's not on the cards, but my actions may be able to make it such that one player can win. We call this kingmaking. In general, people are pretty negative towards it, which I think is fair.
I mean, we just spent a while talking about how we want a good contest.
Yeah.
And if it suddenly is, like, decided by a player that's not in that race
and can't win.
Yeah, it's like a NASCAR driver in last place pulling out a sniper rifle, shooting the tire of the guy in first, and just being like, "Yep, second can take it."
I mean, it's kind of I hate to use this word, but it's kind of spiteful, right?
It often feels that way.
It often comes down to, not always. Look, it's very often done accidentally, but it can often feel, like you say. Like spite, because often it'll be like, oh well, sorry James, but you were the one who removed all my stuff. I'm gonna swing at you. You can take 10, and then pass to Frank, and Frank wins the game. It's like, well, it's kind of spiteful. It feels spiteful to James, which is totally fair.
And sometimes that can be a feels bad for that person, and they can walk away pretty salty.
Yeah,
they might not even sit out and talk for the rest of the game, or even have that rule infinity conversation.
Yeah,
I think there's a couple of things you can do a couple of things we can advise our listeners to do to help you avoid these situations.
Totally.
Right at the start, if you feel like you're in this situation, really, really look. Is there a way, or is there a, by the grace of God, way that you could win? Yeah. Is there the chance that you draw that 1 in 60 board wipe that you need? Like, is there that chance? Yeah. And I think that's, if there is a slim chance, you should play to win. Go out swinging. Our first piece of advice, go out swinging. Yeah. And gun for that win. And look, the funny thing that I think will happen in a lot of these king-making situations is sometimes your win might look like doing nothing and letting the other two players who are in the lead engage in their contest and seeing if you can come out on top. And I have seen great online YouTube videos of gameplay where this has happened, where a player has just gone past turn, left all their mana open, they've got interaction ready, and just said, all right, you two go for it. I'm going to see if I can interrupt you, or if I can eke out a win here. I mean, honestly, like, for example, okay, I'm going into a boxing match with, for some reason, there's 3 people in this. Like, WWE, let's say we're going WWE. I'm going into a WWE ring with John Cena, and The Rock. Okay. Do you think this...
He gestured his whole body, by the way.
Which is not in peak form. There's a bit of flubber. This could compete with those two. No, of course. My strategy for that match, run around the ring like a mouse in a field. Let the other two wipe each other out, and then come in and just bop them on the nose and hope that it doesn't. Yeah,
it's the Katniss Everdeen in the Hunger Games effect.
Oh yeah, right? She hides in a tree.
Just survive. Just survive. Let the elite athletes compete with one another and eke out a win.
And honestly, like, who's that? Oh my god, there's actually a really incredible sportsman, the ice skater. Do you remember?
Oh, who won the Australian ice skater?
Yeah, what was his name?
Oh, it's killing... Oh, what's his name?
Oh, we're both Australian and we're forgetting this. This is killing me.
He's like the quintessential athlete.
If you've not heard this story before, if you're from another country, I think everyone in Australia knows this story.
Oh, yeah, right? Big time.
It was at the Olympics, ice skating finals. He was just in it by the grace of whatever.
He was an elite athlete, but he was not on the same level as anyone else in the race.
There were Canadians out there that were like slicing it up. Yeah. Whatever. I can't remember the actual race, but like, basically what happened is he was just consistent and strong through the entire race. Was at the back of the pack the entire time. Right at the end of the race, the first 3 collided and just fell. And the rest
brought down everyone else in the race.
Literally the entire pack following fell to their knees on the ice. And he just skated on past.
Oh, this is killing me.
Are you going to Google it?
I'm going to do a super quick Google. I'm sorry to be cheeky, everyone.
No,
but
you
it's
Google it.
He's an Australian icon. You got to know.
And I think that it does actually really encapsulate what we're trying to say here, is you could end up just ice skating your way through to a perfect clean win, and you just had to do your best.
Stephen Bradbury.
That's it.
Stephen Bradbury. He's almost like a verb now. It's like, oh, you Stephen Bradbury'd it. Is like, you were not
in that race,
but you won anyway. There. Yeah.
Another really cool Eddie the Eagle is a great movie. The one with Hugh Jackman in, but like,
I haven't seen that
slightly different message about just the pure power of hope might get you to the Olympics.
But like, I think it's totally like it. Sometimes we get tunnel vision on thinking our win looks a particular way, but it might look different than what we think it looks like, which 100%. I think is what you're alluding to. I think the other thing I would say in terms of like sort of avoiding king making is if you definitely can't win, so you've done that sit down, you've looked at the board, you definitely can't do it, you can intentionally make the contest that will unfold between the other players as even as you possibly can.
Oh yeah, being the all right, being the official in the middle, being like, touch gloves, boys.
Yeah, let's see it. I want this to unfold, and this won't necessarily mean doing nothing. It might mean going like, okay, I can see that James is in the lead. I'm gonna blow up James's heuristic study. And then I'm going to sit back and watch you two duke it out. Because now I think it's pretty even and I want to see what happens.
Get out your popcorn. Be the Michael Jackson in the Thriller video meme with eating the popcorn.
Yeah, I mean, totally. And I think this is, again, like, these are the games you remember, even when we lose, is the close contests. And so if we're going to they wanted us to enjoy our losses, right? And enjoy the sportsmanship. And this is the way to do that, I think.
I think that is a perfect segue into joy, because I really do get a kick out of that.
Yeah, me too, I think.
Should we talk about how to have fun while losing?
Let's do it.
All
I
right.
think the first one that comes to mind for me, this was talked about recently by, I think it was Rachel Weeks with Command Sphere, who is now actually with Command Zone. She's so cool. Definitely listen to her. She's got some really, really awesome thoughts on the format.
Also weirdly tweeted something that we had an episode scheduled for release for about disassembling decks, remember?
Oh, yeah.
Cool. We're like-minded, Rachel.
Yeah,
Hit us up.
it's true.
If you want to feature on our podcast,
my God.
We won't fly you to Australia, but I'll pick you up from Melbourne Airport.
Oh my God, imagine. She suggested that if you're the kind of person who literally can't imagine not gunning for the win, like some of us, I totally understand, are literally just like, it is inherent in the way we play Magic that we are trying to win at every point, no matter what. Spiky people. Set yourself a deck goal that is not winning the game.
I love to refer to these as like the Xbox achievements.
Yeah.
You know, when like a little achievement pops up on your screen. That
achievement
like,
unlocked.
Yeah.
Or on PlayStation, it's like a gold trophy or silver trophy or whatever. Yeah.
I love these. I really do enjoy these. One of my favorite like little mini goals, my Fire Left deck. One of my goals that I've had for like pretty much every game is fling a plant for death. Because that's like the sub-theme.
Totally.
If I can kill one player by throwing a tree at them, that's hilarious. And I think that's a win in my book.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen like definitely wild versions of this. I've seen people who want to have no cards in library, even if it doesn't mean that they win. Like they just want they want to say to themselves, I used every card, I milled every card in my library. Like that can be a thing you're gunning for. If you're playing a token deck, it might be like, I want to make 20 tokens in one turn. You know, like have these like little milestones that will feel like wins to you, but are not just the game ends.
But also like, even if you don't set out to have that win, or to have that little mini accomplishment or that little target in your game of like making tokens or milling your library, whatever. When you do something cool in the game, even if it looks like you're about to lose, recognize that cool thing that you did.
Yeah.
We spoke about it at the start of this episode of like retroactively recognizing it. When you're in the moment, be like, yeah, I did it. Look at this weird thing that I made.
Yeah.
Look.
I totally agree. I think the other way that we're going to start to look at joy, and this is kind of like more like retroactive, like you were saying, is we've mentioned Rule Infinity already, which is this by the way, did not already exist. We've proposed this, I think.
I think it would be really cool if we proposed it, because I've now started implementing it really hardcore into my daily games.
Yeah, the super short version of it is, this is the opposite of the Rule Zero conversation. So the Rule Zero conversation comes immediately before the game and is about, you know, setting the expectations for the game and that kind of thing. The Rule Infinity comes at the conclusion of the game, and it takes you into your infinite future Commander games. So it's about like referring back to how effective you feel the Rule Zero conversation was. It's about reflecting on the game and what you found enjoyable, what you might not have found enjoyable.
Learning lessons. You're picking up the mistakes that other players made and say, hey, maybe if you did this, you would have ended up in a better situation.
Yeah, and again, the goal behind all of this is to collate all of that lovely information that you're going to have, that's going to come up, you're going to find, and take that into your future games of Commander, which is why it's called Rule Infinity. You'll have infinite more Commander games, and so you can collate all that information and make those infinite games better. So, like, yeah, if you did lose and it was due to a pretty massive power imbalance, try to address it and try to point out, like, how that kind of came about. So rather than saying like, oh, that deck was too powerful, say something like, oh, man, you sort of described this deck as being a bit janky, but you have a Kiki-Jiki infinite combo in there. That's not really what I think of when I think of jank. You know, just like not accusing them blatantly of anything, but just being like, oh, this wasn't quite what I imagined the game was going to be like.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, we actually played a game recently with someone that we not in our regular play group. I won't call them out to name them.
No.
We played with someone who had a Ishin deck where it's basically doubles the attack triggers.
Yeah, it's a Mardu commander. So red, black, white.
I think it's like one of the top Mardu commanders right now.
He's very popular.
Very good.
Yeah.
But I've seen Ishin decks very strong. So in Rule 0, I was like, whoa, Ishin. Okay, if you want to play it, sure, I'm open to it. Can you give us the Rule 0 rundown? How does it win? How consistently does it do it? How does it stop us? All this kind of stuff. And the Rule 0 conversation felt relatively, okay, like mid-power, no tutors, all this kind of stuff.
I think it was like something like, oh, it's Samurai Tribal, and that immediately, like, me and James sort of breathed a sigh of relief. I'm like, okay, that's going to be lower.
Because you've got a sub-theme that's really might not be helping it.
Yeah.
But believe it or not, Neon Dynasty had some bananas samurai that, like, had attack triggers.
Totally.
So we got annihilated in
Absolutely,
that game.
we did.
Like,
basically, it was a 1 through commander damage. It was like kind of exalted tribal almost.
Yeah, it was a really cool deck. Like
it was really well built.
No shade on the deck. It was so cool to watch.
It was so strong and
also had a really cool altar for the commander too.
Yeah, and like all the cards synergized. It was like very, very well done. It came together really well. But like literally in terms of power level, comparative power level, turn by turn, like literally in successive turns from this player, each of us was eliminated in commander damage. Like it literally went like James dies, Walt dies, player 4 dies. That was the turns in sequence.
It was really like, oh, we didn't have a good enough Rule 0.
Yeah.
So post game, Walt and I we actually did a little bit of a tag team thing. We kind of looked at each other and went, we should say something here.
Yeah.
Right? And we did it in a way that I really hope to this player, we did it in a really respectful way, but we kind of said, when you have your Rule 0 conversation, maybe highlight that the deck did this at least once.
Yeah.
Like, it has the potential
of killing a player in a turn.
Like, instant eliminations is something that a Rule 0 conversation should highlight. And how consistently does it do it? Well, I mean, we only saw 1/10 of your deck, maybe 20th of your deck, and it did it.
Well, and there were tutors as well that found a lot of the cards. There was like a demonic tutor. I think there might even have been a vampiric tutor. Like those cards just increased the power level of anything, as we've talked about before.
Yeah, so the consistency was high.
Yeah.
How it won was high. And it actually interacted really well. It had really efficient removal.
It did, yeah.
It was running all like the, swords path, all the really instant speed, cheap, just your creature goes bye-bye.
Yeah.
Like, it was just
it was
really...
a great deck.
It was awesome. And honestly, I would love to play against it again. I just want to bring the right deck to the table.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's what we're going for here, is we don't really ever, if we can, want to like shame people out of playing particular ways or choosing particular cards. We're just trying to make it so that the future games we have are better.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best way to do it. And keep in mind that 95% of the time when a bad experience occurs in a Commander game, it was not done with malice, like intentionally by the player who did it. It was a misunderstanding in the kind of game that people wanted, in the kind of commanders that were coming to the table.
Or even about their own experience with their own deck. Maybe it's a brand new deck and they're like, your Wart the Raid Mother deck, actually, you just recently had a conversation with my partner where, like, Thea was like, hey, Walt, I've played against this deck 4 times now. It's done the thing all 4 times, and it's been really hard to interact with. And you've gone, yeah, no, it does do that.
Yeah.
And because that's a brand new deck for you. You didn't realize it was going to do it that quickly and easily.
Well, and that's the thing, is when I was introducing the deck for a while, is I was like, look, I think it's going to play like reasonably well, like kind of like this. I've only played it a few times, so I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
And look, it did mean that my first few games, I did like a couple of times blow the whole table out of the water a little bit in terms of power level. But I know that now, and I'm really glad that your partner Theo actually took the time to say like, hey, just so you know, that deck was like really good.
Yeah.
Because now I know.
Babe. Top job. Well
Yeah,
done, babe.
good stuff, Theo.
I also think that like in any situation where we're losing, we should always use it as an opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
I think that is, and just learn. Like we already said, like Rule Infinity is the encapsulation of this like retroactive view. And I said it before about the lessons that you can take from it.
Yeah.
And you can ask for feedback from other people. And often they'll give you really good feedback of like, no idea why you're running this card. That like specific, like mechanically, like why are you running that card? And you'll be like, oh, I thought it would be really cool with this and this and this. And the player's like, all right, well, that didn't happen. And you're like, yeah, good point.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take it out and see if the deck plays better without it. Or
well, this is what's going to bring us back to the joy, right? This is what the Space Commanders wanted to set us is like doing these conversations right actually results in better games that we have in future, more fun games, the games that are close, that are interactive, that are fun for everyone who's playing.
The better you know your deck, the better you know your opponents, the better you know yourself, the better you know your cards, the better you're going to be able to have those Rule Zero conversations, and that means you're going to have better Commander games. And I think, like, with these lessons, like, it just, like, okay, why are you running that card? Sure. But even stuff like, okay, another story from the CEDH event. I made a crucial mistake in that first game as well, which I could have won pretty quickly
I've heard this one before.
With Frantic Search, 2 and a blue, instant speed, draw 2, discard 2, untap 3 lands. Very simple card. I didn't know that the ruling of priority passing means that once everyone has passed priority, the spell resolves. All of its effects resolve.
Right. There's no more opportunity for anyone to do anything.
Including the active player.
Right.
So I made the mistake of going, all right, I'm going to tap Island and Soul Ring, and then I'll pass priority, and before the spell resolves, I'll float 2 more mana off my lands, untap, and then I've got 2 more mana. That's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
I passed priority without floating that mana. When it got back to the spell to resolve, the spell resolved, I could not tap those lands. I was really sure of, like, I could do that. I asked a judge. The judge was like, nope, that's how it works. And I'll tell you what, once I was told that, I'm never going to make that mistake with Frantic Search again.
Yeah, and you won't have that sort of, like, sinking feeling of going, oh, what have I done? I'm such a goose. Yeah, totally. The other thing I want to highlight here in terms of joy, specifically, and this is probably the most challenging one, but I'm gonna argue it's maybe one of the most important. If all of this other stuff has occurred, you cannot win. You are out of the game. Let's say you were eliminated even.
Like, your life total is 0. You got 10 poison counters, 21 commander damage. You out.
The game is over, right? If you can, challenge yourself to put your cards away, put your phone away, and actually revel in watching the game unfold, in being an active member of the game, but not a player in the game. Be a spectator, be a cheerleader almost.
Yeah.
For the remainder of the game.
I am so glad you brought this up because, like, there's so much Commander content on the internet now. We got game nights, we got Playing with Power, we got all these incredible YouTube channels. All of us watch it. Let's be real. We all spend our nights watching these games and being like, oh, that was really cool.
Totally.
We don't know these people. I don't know Josh and Jimmy. I feel like I do because, like, I've watched so much content of theirs. But, like, I don't actually know them. You know who I do know? You and the other players that I'm just actually played a game with right now. I've lost. But now I get to watch a Commander game with people I know, care about, and to some extent love right in front of me. Yeah. That's sick. I love that so much.
Totally. And it's also, we get so caught up in the cards in our hand when we're an active player in a game that we miss stuff, right? I don't know if sometimes I'm in the tank, right? Like, in my turn sort of unfolding, and I hear a joke being told and, like, laughed at, but I am literally not even capable of hearing it. And I kind of, like, catch on afterwards and I'm like, oh, I've missed that. You can be a part of all of that if you put the cards down. And if you've lost, it's actually, think of it as an opportunity to actively watch a game of Commander in a capacity you would never normally get to be able to do with people you play with.
And something else is that you're now in a really cool opportunity to be that pod's entertainment. And I genuinely think this is a really cool role that the first player eliminated gets is, let's say, for example, I got eliminated with commander damage at a pod and you're playing a commander damage deck. You eliminated me with commander damage.
Sure.
I get eliminated. Let's say someone removes your commander or does the oubliette thing, right? I'm going to be like, where's your win con now, Walt? And everyone's going to laugh at that because I've made a joke about how I was eliminated. So that's brought the joy up a little bit for me. But also, genuinely, it's a good comment on the game. Walt's win con was Voltron, commander damage. Someone's just dealt with that.
Totally.
Bad luck, Walt. Yeah. Figure it out, boy.
Exactly. It adds to the game, I think. Does. And I guess think as well about it's like considered the golden rule of philosophy, right? Treat others as you would like to be treated. Think about the best games of Commander you've played and think about what the eliminated players, the role they played in that game. If it was done properly, I think.
A good experience.
They weren't influencing you. They weren't telling you what to do, but they were a part of it and they felt like a part of the experience. And you can be that person for the player who does win that game.
And how cool is it when, like, I love games where you're, like, cheering me on or, like, or when you're out of the game and you're, like, taunting me. Like, being like, you're not going to get this, James. I'm like, I'll show you, Walt. Like, I'll get this.
It opens up the whole thing to socializing. And it's a social format that we play. And that's what we love.
I mean, Walt and I are actually brimming talking about this idea now. So, like, just talking about it brings us so much joy. So try it in your games and see if it brings you joy in the moment.
Totally. Well, look, we're all going to lose games of Commander. That is a guarantee when we go into any game of Commander. But if we keep in mind the strategies that we talked about that we can implement for future games to make them more competitive, make them more enjoyable, be, that good sport, the sting of losing is going to be way, way less. So to really grow as a player, we need to learn how to revel in all aspects of Commander, even losing.
Oh, Space Commanders.
Command received.
Feeling good about this one.
Yeah.
I'm glad we left joy to the end. I'm actually smiling.
Yeah.
I want to go and lose a game.
Honestly, same.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Feels good.
No, definitely looking forward to it. Well, to you, listeners out there, do you feel commanded? Have our tips made you a better loser? And this is what I want to know. Tell us some of the best memories you have of other people winning. I want to hear a great Commander story that is not you winning that game.
That's so true. We always ask to hear stories of when you win or when
your
you
best
did
win
cool.
or something. Yeah.
Tell us about one of your friends.
Yeah.
This is a cool lineup to the playgroup episode. We just did that a couple of episodes ago. So tell us about your playgroups and how your best bud won.
Yeah. And the best way to do that is on our Discord. That's going to be the number one way to communicate with us, people in our playgroup. You can also feel free to add us on Twitter. At Get Commanded. You can send us an email. That's actually in the show notes. We've got an email address there if you feel like doing that.
If you'd like to write us a letter, I guess we can help you out
We can do that.
Yeah.
And we've reminded you a couple of times recently, but please, if you have the time, leave us a review on whichever platform you listen to. So specifically Spotify and Apple Podcasts. For whatever reason, Google Podcasts, it's not an option. But if you're on Spotify, if you're on Apple Podcasts, just take a moment to go to our show and leave us a review. It really helps us out a lot in terms of reaching more great Commander players and losing more games.
Yeah, and for all of you out there that think our content is enjoyable and you like it as a Commander player, I'm sure you've got your own playgroup. I'm sure you're playing with people on Discord or other places. Share us.
Yeah.
That's going to help us too. Leave a review. Tell us, tell your friends about us. And yeah, if you're local, invite us to come play games with you. I guarantee you're going to see us lose gracefully and as a good sport and with a smile on our face at one point.
Absolutely. Absolutely you will. Well, it's customary.
We got to get out of here.
We got to planeswalk.
Planeswalk away.
Planeswalk away.
Planeswalking on sunshine. So I'm in a good mood. I'm just...
So outside the world of Magic, I think it's my turn?
Think so, yeah.
Okay. I would like to planeswalk to a galaxy far, far away. Now I feel like we're the command zone.
Yeah, oh my god, we just did it completely in reverse. We did the end. Star Wars! Alright, go. Which one? I love Star Wars.
I want to go to Andor.
Stop, I've not seen it.
Okay. No spoilers. No spoilers at all.
Good.
I just want to gush about how incredible I think this show is. I think it is, honestly, for me, like some of the best Star Wars content I've ever seen. It might be some of the best television content I've ever seen.
Television content?
Full stop. It may be some of the best content I've ever seen in a TV show format.
Oh my.
It's so... I watched a video essay on it recently, and there was a quote that was shared from the creator, and it really resonated because I was comparing it in my mind to some stuff I've seen recently, especially recent Star Wars content, especially recent Marvel content. The showrunner,
I have opinions about that.
Yes, the showrunner specifically said we avoided what's the word I'm looking for?
Like fan service?
Yeah, that we avoided like Easter eggs, basically. He was like, we were not interested at all in that kind of content. We wanted to tell a story that felt genuine all the way through. And we knew that if we were just throwing pieces of content in there as little shout outs, that would reduce this genuine feeling we wanted to convey. And oh my God, if it does not produce some of the most amazing content as a result, because there's no interest in that. They're literally just like, it's like this...
Here's a story. Well, doesn't matter it's in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
This is a good story.
It's about characters. It's about government and control. It's about what revolution might look like. It is so intricate and detailed. It has like legitimate themes. It has a really strong act structure. You can feel when you're getting to the end of Act 1 and Act 2 and Act 3. It was just like beautiful. The score is amazing. It's shot
was
fantastically.
Was it John Williams' music or was it?
I don't think it was actually. No, right. I think they got someone else. And it feels a bit different. Like the score at first, you're kind of like, this feels a bit weird, but then you get towards the like last few episodes, and the opening score, I don't know if it might be slightly different each time. And each time you hear it, there's like it's similar to Star Wars where there's like a theme, you know, like a sequence of notes that tells you this is what we're listening to. And there's like an Andor theme. And when it comes on, you're like, oh boy, I'm so excited.
That's cool.
It's just amazing. It's like, seriously, if you have the means, I think it's on Disney Plus. So, you know, you have to have Disney Plus subscription probably, or you can be cheeky and do something else. But,
and there goes our sponsorship with the Disney Corporation.
I guess so. Oh, God damn it. Yeah, please watch Andor. It's really fantastic. I'm so
excited. I genuinely might try and convince Theo to watch it tonight because we've said to each other we're not watching it until we can watch it together.
Sure.
That was why
I watched it with my partner as well. Same reason.
Yeah. And we watched Obi-Wan together, the Kenobi series.
I did love Kenobi.
I thought that was brilliant. I've really enjoyed a lot of the Star Wars content.
Me too.
I'm a Star Wars fan, but like you've got Star Wars art on your wall in this room.
Yeah.
And I have the same in my bedroom.
Yeah.
Like, genuinely, like I think Star Wars is such a cool franchise, and I've been a fan of it since I was little. I have something to say to all of the people being like, oh, Disney's ruining Star Wars or all that kind of stuff. You know what you're getting is more Star Wars content. The original trilogy is never going to go away. If that's all you want Star Wars to be, that's all it has to be for you.
Yeah.
There is going to be a universe, galaxy, big, it's going to grow, of all this different content. I fell in love with Kenobi. I thought that was brilliant. Mando hit the nail on the head in a lot of different situations.
Yeah.
I thought maybe a couple of things that the Boba Fett series did was like not quite right.
Wasn't the hugest fan.
I thought that it was like close to what I wanted a Boba Fett series to be, but not quite. But like, I'm not going to go on the internet and complain because I just got a full series about a character that had 3 lines in the original trilogy.
Yeah, it's true. There's more options out there for sure. And so, you don't have to watch everything. But, I really highly recommend Andor. I will say, don't go in expecting sort of similar vibes to pretty much any of the other Star Wars content.
You said government and control. Is it like, is it kind of prequel vibes in that, like, it's about, like, trade routes?
I don't know that it ever gets, well, in my opinion, it never got quite that dry.
Yeah.
But, like, I think the person who told me to watch it was like, it feels very adult. And I actually do agree with that. It's really, like, it's not in-your-face action, like... You know, balls to the wall kind of thing. It's really like, it's a ponderous kind of thing. So when you first sit down, I know a few people like watched a couple episodes and like, man, this is so slow. And please like give it a chance. Like watch 3, 4, 5 episodes if you can. Because it really like, it's kind of a thriller, and the more you watch, the more you get invested in the stakes, and the more it tightens up for you. So like really, you gotta dig through it, but like it's worth it when you get to the end, in my opinion.
Yeah, and if you've got differing opinions, jump in our Discord and tell Walt why he's wrong.
In the general chat, okay? I don't want to hear deck discussions about Star Wars until they do a universes beyond Star Wars, which is surely on the horizon.
That's got to be close. We've got Doctor Who.
We've got Lord of the Rings within a year. Star Wars,
like the big
a matter
three
of time.
Groups.
Yeah,
it's like the
Star Trek maybe.
Yeah, I think the top 5 fandoms of all time is like Star Wars, Star Trek, Lord of the Rings, Doctor Who, and then probably Harry Potter.
Oh yeah. Actually, that's pretty good.
I think they're like the 5.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. Yeah, I think. All right, well, no more Star Wars talk. That's more than enough.
All right, well, let's planeswalk out of Star Wars and say goodbye.
Thanks for joining us. It's really fun. We'll catch you really soon.
Yeah, hope to lose to you soon, Commander players. Goodbye.
Yep. Bye.